Hello and welcome to our Tuesday discussion with Yannick Passeick. My name is Christoph Mach, I'm the director of the Carson Center, and together with Gesa Lüteke, my colleague, we are moderating the Tuesday discussions during the semester. We are alternating, so today it's my turn, and I'm very happy to welcome Yannick Passeick, who is the educational officer auf die Fachstelle für Radikalisierungsprävention und Engagement im Naturschutz. It's a mouthful, and I don't even know how to translate it into English. It's something like the Competence Center for Radicalization Prevention and Engagement in Nature Protection. Very German, very Germanic. And actually, when I saw Yannick's address, I thought, this is ironic. He is actually working against nationalist radicalism, Germanic and Teutonic nationalist radicalism, but his address is the Naturfreundehaus Teutoburg, which is as Teutonic as it gets, the Friends of Nature in Teutoburg. And he was born just below the national monument par excellence, the Germanic monument par excellence in Germany, the Hermanns monument, which reminds, since the Bismarck times, reminds Germans of their victory over the Romans in 9 AD, I think. I think that's something we learned at school. And interestingly, a lot of nationalists know that and are flocking to that place. Not everybody who flocks there, I think 500,000 people a year, is flocking to that place because they are nationalists, but the Nazis have liked that monument and the neo-Nazis have liked that monument. And interestingly, or ironically, Yannick is working, just grew up below that monument, is working in that very area, was actually in a soccer club that had that monument on its tricot. Anyways, what is more important is that Yannick, you should know that he studied politics and law in Bielefeld, and also he studied political science in Helsinki, and he got a second degree in political communication. Once he was done with his studies, he saw a job of the, what's it called, the Naturbund, Naturfreunde, and Nature Friends, I think in English, not Friends of Nature, but Nature Friends. They have two different organizations. So he's a member of the Nature Friends, and they are actually in Berlin, but they had a job in Bielefeld, and that's where he is, in the Naturfreundehaus Teutoburg. And he's working as an educational officer in Radikalisierungsprävention und Engagement im Naturschutz. So please join me in welcoming Yannick Passeick.
Yeah, if I may speak, I thank you very much for this very private introduction. This is one of the best I ever had, if I can say that. Well, I'm happy to be here with you, and I prepared a presentation, of course, to help me with what I'm going to say and talk to you about our work. Christoph already mentioned our very complicated name. Even for German measures, it's complicated, but it's based on the fact that we have some funding by the Federal Ministry for Family Affairs, Senior Citizens, Women and Youth, and that's where the name comes from. So we're basically, what is FARN, as we take our name short? We are we focus in the area of radicalization prevention in the field of nature conservation, environmentalism, and everything that goes around the topics in the fields of ecological issues. The center is hosted by the Nature Friends Germany. As Christoph said, it's not the French of the nature, but the Nature Friends Germany, which is also an international organization, but has most of its members in the south of Germany and in Austria. But I think the biggest part is still in Germany. Our team is a very small team. It consists of 5 employees, but we also have more than 40 freelancing trainers that do our educational work for us all around Germany. So we're just based in Bielefeld and Berlin, but we try to reach people everywhere in Germany to sensibilize for that topic. So basically, what is our work? As I told you, we sensibilize for this topic, and we do some kind of radicalization prevention in nature conservation. So we have as one of our goals to analyze the historical and the contemporary relationships of nature conservation or environmentalism and far-right ideology. In Germany, this goes back since the start of the environmental movement and the nature conservation movement during the 19th century. As a reaction to industrialization, where it was always linked to some folkish ideas, to nationalist ideas, and this goes on until today. And most of the people, I would say, that we deal with in our work have never heard about this relationship. So it's still, after the 4 years that I'm doing that, it's still always big surprise when we talk about this topic, but also there's a big need for it, as we feel it, since we have many questions or we have a big demand for these workshops. And we also offer information to any parts related to this topic. We, most of the time, or most importantly, we qualify people in these fields, in these areas, but also we're therefore giving consultation for practitioners in the fields who have problem with some right-wing groups in the field of environmentalism or something similar. And the most important thing, as I said, is that we, as a small team, can't help so many people and can't do all these workshops, seminars, and public lectures. So we qualify multiplicators, as we call it, who work in youth organizations, in environmental organizations, in political organizations. But also we started last year a project where we want to bring these topics to the universities who are dealing with big or focusing on green jobs, on ecology, on conservation topics, so that these people, the students who then go back or after their studies work in this field, know about the danger of this topic that we're talking about. So what is this danger? Why is our work essential? I want to give you a quick overview. Maybe we can talk about this furthermore in the discussion, why it is essential to work in this field. Basically, we can say that nature and environment are crucial elements of any right-wing ideology. It's not so known so far, but it is, if you look at the ideological parts of the diverse right-wing ideologies that there are, it has always been and still is very important to have some kind of equation of nature, of Heimat, of the folk, and of the environment. It all belongs together, and so the people has to stay together, has to stay healthy, as the nature has to stay healthy. So it's kind of an ecosystem for the whole people, but also a homogenical people. And since these are crucial elements of any right-wing ideology, the nature and environmental organizations are targeted by far-right, as they call, metapolitical strategies, which is basically a concept the intellectual far-right took from Antonio Gramsci and made it, or turned it to the right. They call it a cultural revolution from the right, to fight in the civil society, in the pre-political area, to gain their views of, or to gain their aims of society as they want to have it. And these organizations are, these environmental organizations are often located in rural areas. So which makes sense because there's lots of environmentalism work to do in these areas. And also the rural areas are these where the far right sees their natural habitat and where it is easier to gain influence for them. And then we come to the connection of the old blood and soil ideology of the National Socialists. They still live this blood and soil ideology that the blood belongs to the soil and you have to live in a rural area. You have to run organic farms if possible, live near the nature and try some kind of settler projects. which is much easier on the countryside than it is in cities where there's an active civil society and where people are talking against them or trying to do something against neo-Nazi groups, for example. And this is just, maybe you've heard about some of these settler projects before. There it is very important to say that it's not just a handful of old-fashioned neo-Nazis who do that, but it's all kinds of the diverse players who engage in right-wing players who engage in these fields. And I've just numbered here a few. So we have the esoteric sides, the right-wing esoteric, which has come known during the pandemic very effectively the last year. We have the so-called Anastasia movement. We have the Reichsbürger, which still believe some kind of German empire still exists. We have the Völkisch, which is the old Völkisch ideology, who do the settlements, who live on like the Atamans. It's a group living on some kind of group that's, or reliving some kind of group that exists in the 1920s. We have the neo-Nazis who are formed in parties, political parties, such as the NPD, the Third Weg, or others. And we also have the intellectual, the new right, because there are like the 1% movement, the identitarians. And of course, we have the biggest actor right now, the right-wing populists, as we have in the AfD, the Alternative for Germany, who also try to settle in the rural areas. And if we take a look at the danger that we have in the rural areas, but it's also, and they live very near, very close to nature, very ecological, but they're also, as you may have known, the right wing is also known to be really ecological, as we call the merchants of doubt, as Oreskes and Conway have this big study published a few years back. Those who don't believe in climate change, who are denialists, who are skeptics, to make their neoliberal politics and say everything ecological, we have to abandon it, it's destroying our free markets. So, but the right has two different ways to react to this crisis. So either way, it's these merchants of doubt. Other way is being eco-fascist. This is like a strong term, I'm sure of it, but it actually contains everything what I just said before in this ideology. And here I have the screenshot of the terror manifest of the Christchurch terrorist, where you can see you have the black sun, the neo-Nazi sun, and also that environmentalism and the so-called overpopulation is very important. And these are basically two ways that we have to deal with in the future. And now I see that I'm talking too much, and I'm sorry for it, but I just have one more example for you, which I just found yesterday, just to show you that I found on a right-wing blog, the Secession. It's one of the intellectual right-wing blogs where actually I stumbled across the Rachel Carson Center for Environmental and Society, which has been used for an article, or the archives has been used for an article for a new right-wing environmental magazine called Die Kehre. And so I think it's also very important to know that, and to know that they use these facts, and maybe we can talk about how to deal with it. And to end with this, I just want to show you one graph who's asking for these educational formats where we do this, what I talked about in a really short time in a larger seminar. We have lots of youth organizations, nature and environmental organizations, schools, university, political organizations, and others. And also we provide publications, articles, and lots of information on our website for free for interested parties in this area. And that's basically what we do. And I'm finished with my presentation for now. And thank you, and look forward to the discussion.